So, how do you even begin to tell a story that's 9,000 years long? It's a huge task, right? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into the epic, sometimes tragic, but always, always resilient history of Ireland. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, so our story really starts right here. Picture this, an island, kinda on the edge of Europe, shaped by the wild Atlantic Sea, and for a long time pretty isolated. You know, that kind of geography, it does something to people. It forges a culture that has this incredible story of survival, of endurance, a history that's honestly just as dramatic as its coastline.
So, we've broken this massive story down into 5 parts. We'll start with the ancient foundations, then move to invasions and kingdoms, followed by the famine and rebellion, then the fight for freedom, and we'll end up with Ireland as a modern nation.
All right, first up, ancient foundations. We're going way, way back to explore the deep, prehistoric roots that really formed Ireland's cultural DNA, long before anyone was writing things down.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The scale of time is just staggering, isn't it? We're talking about the very first humans arriving right after the Ice Age. Then you have these Neolithic farmers who come in and completely change the landscape. And then bam, the Celts and Christianity arrive. And that combo basically defines Irish culture for centuries to come.
And get this, to put their skill into perspective, they built things like Newgrange way back around 3200 BC. Let that sink in. That means it's older than the Egyptian pyramids. Older than the pyramids. That's just an incredible level of ancient engineering we're talking about.
What's so cool here is you can see the evolution right in front of you. On the left, you've got this massive feat of ancient engineering, Newgrange, a giant tomb that's perfectly aligned with the winter solstice. I mean, wow. Then, fast forward thousands of years, and on the right, you see the super intricate, spiritual art of a Celtic cross. It's like this huge leap from building something massive to creating something incredibly detailed and meaningful.
And that kind of artistry, it just exploded when Christianity arrived. You know, while a lot of Europe was going through what we call the Dark Ages, something amazing was happening in Ireland. Its monasteries became these incredible centers of learning, beacons, really. They were preserving knowledge and creating these absolutely breathtaking manuscripts, like the famous Book of Kells.
Okay, so let's move into our next chapter, invasions and kingdoms. This is where that flourishing culture gets put to the test by some pretty powerful forces from the outside.
So first up are the Vikings. And yeah, they showed up with one thing on their mind, raiding. But their story is so much more complicated than that. They started as attackers for sure, but they ended up as settlers. And in the process, they actually founded some of Ireland's most important cities, like Dublin. They completely changed the game economically and socially.
But let's not gloss over how it all began. The first Viking raids were absolutely brutal. They went straight for the heart of Irish culture. Those monasteries we just talked about, because that's where the wealth was. It was a terrifying time, just pure chaos and fear.
Okay, so after the Vikings, another group shows up. And this one sets the stage for centuries of conflict. When the Normans arrived in 1169, it wasn't just a raid. No, this was the start of something much, much bigger. It was the beginning of an 800-year period of English influence and control that would pretty much define all of Ireland's future struggles.
And that history brings us to what is maybe the most devastating chapter in all of Irish history. A time of such immense suffering that it would change the country and its people forever.
The Great Famine, it wasn't just a food shortage. That doesn't even begin to cover it. It was a total societal collapse. See, because of the way land was owned, millions of people depended on just one crop, the potato. So when that crop failed not just once, but year after year, it led to a catastrophe on a scale that's just hard to even imagine.
1 million. Just think about that number for a second. 1 million people.
That's how many people, men, women, and children, are estimated to have died from starvation and disease in just a handful of years. It was a demographic bomb that went off, scarring the nation's memory forever.
And for those who did survive, so many had no choice but to leave. We're talking another 1, maybe 2 million people who emigrated, spreading out all over the globe. That created this huge Irish diaspora. It's actually a big reason why Irish culture is so well known and loved around the world today. It was spread by people fleeing this incredible hardship.
So you take that deep sense of grief and anger from the famine, and you pile it on top of centuries of outside rule. It's no wonder it fueled this powerful, desperate desire for independence.
And in the 20th century, that fight for freedom finally boiled over.
And when it happened fast. You have the 1916 Easter Rising in Dublin. Militarily, it was a failure. But symbolically, it was a massive victory that lit a fire under the whole nation. That led right into the War of Independence, and then finally the treaty that created the Irish Free State.
But as is so often the case, the solution created a brand new problem. That treaty in 1921, it split the island. It partitioned it, leaving 6 counties in the north still under British rule. So you see the destruction on the left from that fight for independence, and then you see the mural on the right, which represents the decades of conflict in Northern Ireland, the Troubles, that came because of that partition. It's like one struggle ended and a whole new one began.
Which brings us to our final chapter, a modern nation. After all that turmoil, after centuries of struggle, how on earth did Ireland become the nation it is today?
I mean, just look at the transformation. From the ruins we saw just a moment ago, Dublin has been completely reborn. It's now this buzzing, modern European capital, a major hub for some of the biggest tech companies in the world. It's such a powerful symbol of Ireland's incredible economic comeback.
So what is Ireland today? Well, it's a country that somehow managed to balance its complicated past with a really bright future. It's known for its vibrant economy, of course, but also for its incredibly rich culture. Its writers, its musicians, and more than anything, it's known for its breathtaking beauty, and a people who are famous around the world for being resilient and full of spirit.
And that, really, is the story of how Ireland was forged. It's a story of survival against impossible odds, stretching from those ancient tomb builders all the way to today's tech innovators. If there is one single thread you can pull through this entire 9,000-year story, it's resilience. It's just resilience. Which, of course, leaves us all with one final question to think about. After all that turmoil and triumph, what will the next chapter of Ireland's story be?